The 5 minutes for folks to go ahead and get started. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to get started on our town hall here this evening. So, once again, good evening. My name is Jeffery Young. I have the honor and privilege of serving as your council member for the 5th Council District. So I represent parts of North Philly, Center City, and of course, Fishtown, and everywhere in between. Just to give you all a sense of what the 5th Council District comprises of, our most northern border is 9th and Boulevard, and our southern border is Rittenhouse Square. And so we represent all corners of the city of Philadelphia. And it is, again, a privilege to do so. Tonight, we brought our quality of life town hall series to this community. This is something that we've been doing throughout our tenure in office. Those who don't know, I've been in office for about over a little over 2 years now. As a council member representing this area, prior to me becoming city councilman, I was a partner in a law firm where I represented small businesses in their endeavors regarding real estate, commercial transactions, and just some litigation as well. One thing that I'm kind of proud of during that time was I represented, I defended property owners who where Act 135 conservatorship petitions were filed against them. And I know this community has, there was a lot of noise around Act 135 in this community about bigger properties here in Fishtown as well. So throughout our tenure, we're focused on quality of life. Because my job as your council member is to improve your life. That's it, in whatever fashion that is. So in dealing with the city services, we wanted to bring the city directly to you. And this evening, we have a number of departments who will be here to talk to you about the services they provide, to answer your questions about the quality of the services, the type of services, and overall how you can access those services. We have representatives from Philadelphia Parking Authority, Licensing and Inspection, the Streets Department, Sanitation Department, Philadelphia More Beautiful Committee, Suite, Commerce, I just saw come here, and we also have the Philadelphia Fire Department in the few as well. And these services are essential to our city because, again, each and every department plays a role in how our lives are improved on a daily basis here in our communities. And we want to make sure that you have the direct access, again, to these services, and your questions get answered. In your service, you get a solution to the problems you're having in your communities. That's why we have these quality of life town halls, because we are solution-oriented to problems. We don't want to keep talking about it. We want to find that fix, get to it, so it doesn't happen again. So thank you all for being here this evening. I want to welcome you to Lutheran Settlement House. I want to thank Lutheran Settlement House for hosting us tonight. It's a very, very hot day, and it's a cool place in here today. So again, thank you to Lutheran Settlement House. Thank you all for choosing to be here tonight on this evening to get information on your city and your city government. I want to thank the folks who are viewing online as well. I know you may not have been able to make it in person, but this information is going to be important. We want to hear from you as well. And that's why we provide the opportunity for streaming as well throughout. As I said, we've been hosting these meetings throughout our council district. All of them are online. And so if you would like, you can sign up to get our newsletter, our information, so you can get all the access to all the things that we do in the 5th Council District. And we want to bring up our first speaker, who is going to be able to answer some questions about parking. We know parking is a big issue, a huge issue in every part of the city. But we have representatives from the parking authority that can just come up, briefly give a spiel on the Philadelphia Parking Authority, and can answer some questions that you may have. At the end of the town hall, we will have an open community question and answer session where folks have the ability to ask me questions. And I'll give you straight up answers, because that's the type of person I am. I'm not going to BS you. I want to give you the answer straight. And we're going to continue to move and improve our communities. So with that, if the parking authority will come up to just, you just give us what we are, and just talk to us about some of the services that the parking authority does provide in this community. And then the other answer, a few short questions. We have about 5 to 10 minutes for the parking authority, and then we're gonna move on to our next department. So if you don't mind coming up, introduce yourself, and give a round of applause, please. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Saya, and I am one of the executive assistants for the executive director at the Parking Authority, Gabriel Roberts. And then the back we have China, she's one of the coordinators in our procurement department. So the Philadelphia Parking Authority contributes to the economic vitality of Philadelphia and the surrounding region by effectively managing and providing convenient on-street parking and off-street parking in center city garages, service lots located throughout the city, and airport parking. The BPA's mission also includes the operation of the automated red light and speed camera enforcement system, regulating taxi cabs, limousines, transportation network companies, and other transportation-related activities. I haven't taken any questions now. Yes.
I have 2 questions. What's the process for getting rid of handicap signs where the person who used to live there is gone, but the handicap sign is still up on the block?
I can give you, if you come back to our table, I can give you the information starting the handicap department. And then they will be able to move forward with the process. If they don't live there anymore. Okay, yeah.
And my other question is, on Girard Avenue, there is, right at the end of the councilman's district, like, I think a half a block outside of, but Girard and Columbia, there's a vape shop on Girard, and people are habitually double parked. And I just wondered if there's a way the parking authority could be part of helping keep the traffic flowing, or in some way resolve that bottleneck there.
Do you usually take it residents on?
Not just Girard, actually. Is this Girard permitted? I can't remember. It's not, they're not on Girard, so there's no permit there.
If I can also give you the information to our communications department, usually we do take it double park vehicles, so.
Yeah. So one thing I can do is reach out to the police district as well. And it's right down the street, right? So that's an emphasis we can put on that particular corner for enforcement.
Yeah, it's
So,
only a block from
yeah.
the police station.
Yeah, so that's something.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's something that we'll reach out to the captain about and
That would be great.
Hi, thank you. I have called the parking authority before. I go Marlborough Street. We have permit parking supposedly from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I've been told that the people go off duty at 8:45 on weeknights and 10-ish on weekends by the dispatch. So why is that the case if we have permit parking? If there's no parking authority people to enforce it, their suggestion is to call police. It's not an emergency, it's just, we have signs, we've all signed petitions to have signs. And I feel like the personnel staff for our neighborhood is nowhere near what we need.
What street is that?
I'm on Marlboro.
I'm not sure how the residential parking regulations working when it goes up in the 2 in the morning. I would be able to refer you to our RPD department. It might be better equipped to answer that question, but I'm not familiar fully with the laws and regulations around that.
Hello, I have a question. I also live on Marlboro, and there's multiple curb cuts on Marlboro, and I see this in other areas with 12 driveways. And there is a process for getting a permit to put paint on the street to X out your your driveway. And there's multiple people who painted large swaths, like in the neighborhood of almost 20 feet.
Yeah.
On their driveways. So what happens is someone who does or doesn't live in the community pulls up and they see that there's big yellow paint for a curb cut, which is a legal curb cut. That's not the issue. It's that there's a process for them to get a permit for the X that is 12 feet wide. So they paint almost 20 feet wide. So someone comes and stops at the end of that paint. We lose a whole parking spot because of people that aren't following the process of painting the streets. So how can PPA enforce that? Can we give tickets? Is there anything that can be done to allow people to have curb cuts, just get the appropriate amount of curb cut in the street to get that?
So I would say if that is a more of a streets department question. We do have the streets department here in the back. They will be here to present as well. But I would encourage you to reach out to our office to give us those addresses because we can send the inspectors out there and cite, honestly, you have to cite those property owners for installing those signs, those X's incorrectly. But we have to enforce it. That's the streets department. Yeah.
Yeah, Taya, what's the procedure for someone just, I live on a street that doesn't have perfect parking in Fishtown, right? What's the procedure for people just dumping their cars, leaving them there for 3 or 4 weeks at a time without moving them?
They, you know, they're in vehicle.
No, they're not bid, they're just, their inspections and everything are up to date and everything else, they just leave them.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's if the cars are registered, they have insurance, they're up to date, and it's a legal parking spot. There's no time limit on how long you have to be in that parking spot, unless there is a residential parking permit district or some other regulation that limits the time that someone can park there.
I mean, there are people that came and left in Uber to the airport and came back months later
Yeah,
for their car.
yeah,
And there's no way that they could be documented that they parked on, 5 months ago,
as long as their car is still registered, has valid registration and valid inspection stickers, and they're parked in a legal spot, they're allowed to be there as long as they can. The fix for that is the residential permit parking to allow that turnover. But if I have my car, I can, park my car in front of your house for a year, as long as my inspection is up to date, my insurance is up to date, and if there's no damage to the vehicle where you can sit the wheels aren't flat and the windows aren't broken, if the car is in good condition, then they'll, it's unlikely that the Philadelphia police will tow and deem it abandoned if things are still kept up to date on it.
I'm seeing what else can raise, so I guess that concludes my question. Yes.
Thanks, David. Thank you. Those are some great questions. I think that's why we have these meetings to provide the community with this information, to go back, to be armed and informed, to tell your neighbors, to talk to your neighbors about some of the rules and regulations. Next up, we have the Department of Licensing and Inspection. Will come up and give us a presentation on what their role is for the city, and can answer a few questions on that you may have.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lakeisha Thomas Baker. I'm the manager of the Business Compliance Unit of the Quality of Life Division of the Department of Licensing and Inspection. So when the mayor came in, the department was split into two. So we have Quality of Life and we have ISC, which is Inspection, Safety, and Compliance. So Inspection, Safety, and Compliance handles construction and demolition. We handle existing buildings. And the way I like to describe it is anything that has to be built must be maintained. So we deal with the maintenance of the buildings, property maintenance code, fire code, zoning code, and license. And so we handle vacant properties, we handle businesses, anything from residential, single family residential properties to high rises, and which like zoning, licensing, property maintenance, and fire. So we're vast. We also have a nuisance property unit that works on nights and weekends. In my unit, in business compliance, we handle small businesses and business corridors. We have something that we call the B program, the acronym B stands for Business Education and Enforcement. So we along with the Commerce Department, we come out, and sometimes with the council person's office, we come out and we identify our business corridors that we would like to, instead of just coming out, because I think L&I has a bad reputation, and we just want to write violations. Well, we actually do write violations, we seek compliance. So the Business Education and Enforcement Program is a program that we come out and we educate first. So we give our education package to let you know that we'll be back in about 3 weeks or so. And these are some of the things that we're looking for when we come back. And so that gives the businesses, I guess, like a heads up, let you know that we're going, and we actually do come back because they say we never do. And we do come back and we do the actual enforcement piece. And hopefully in the 3 weeks, we give these businesses time to get what they need. If not, they kind of have a heads up know that we know we come there to do it. We also handle residential properties for anything, landlord, tenant concerns, those types of things. So that's basically what we do on the quality of life. If there are any questions, I'll take them.
I got one. I have property and I let the neighbors behind me use it for a fire exit, right? And now they're trying to tell me I can't park on there. You have some kind of regulations about it's cobblestone, right? So it's really unsafe, even if there was a fire. I mean, and now that I let them use it, they won't even let me. They stop me from parking on there, and I'm in the right now. I'm getting that surveyed, and but I just want to know: could you come out and inspect that, and tell me if it's safe for a fire exit? And also, I believe you only need 44 inches for a fire exit like that.
It's a single family dwelling.
Mine is, but when I let use it is a brewery right behind.
It's a what?
A brewery.
Commercial business.
So I'm confused on which your question. You want to know if we can come out and find violations, we're going to write violations that are not on.
Right,
And
right.
that sounds
All
like it's you, so I don't know if.
Well, see, what I'm asking you though more or less is, it's cobblestone and they're supposed to maintain it. Well, for the most part, they don't. And I did them solid, I did them a favor, and now it's coming back and like me in the ass. Now, so I want to know if it has to be a smooth surface, am I right? For fire exit? I mean, it's supposed to be safety, that's what, right?
Well, it has to be, we have to see if it's considered a fire exit or not, but like I said, if we come out.
How would I,
and find a violation, even though you're saying you're letting them use it as the owner of the property, you're going to be responsible.
Well, see, I'm sorry, excuse me, but see, if you tell me that it's unsafe for that to be a fire exit, it's cobblestone, it's really screwed up, but they don't maintain it. And if it snowed or rained, cobblestone's slippery. So I'm asking you, isn't there some kind of variance where it has to be smooth of some sort? It don't have to be cement, but whatever the ground is,
So
should
that
be.
sounds like that's more of a question for the construction side, they're the ones who deal with like materials and what types of materials the exits and things should be.
Yeah, and I think the fire department will be here later on, and so I think that's a question that we can ask when the fire department comes as well. Oh, you all right?
So I was gonna get your address, sir.
Yeah.
I also live in the area, I'm the executive chief of the fire department, so I was just here, just listening to what the constituents were saying. So I'm gonna get your address, and I'm gonna have our fire code come out just to inspect before L&I, because we do have a task force with L&I, but we'll come out just assess to ensure whether that is the only path of egress for the emergency exit, or if there are other ones, and if it is something, quality of life, get L&I involved as well, but I'm gonna give you my card and then
Oh, that's great too.
all right?
Yes, I do appreciate it.
What's your name?
Stunning.
Sonny?
You were Johnson again. That's right.
Yeah.
Any more questions for L&I?
All right.
Well, thank you. Let's give a round of applause.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, man. Okay.
See, they've got resources right there. Next up, we will have the streets department, come up and give us a presentation, maybe able to answer the question that you had. but the streets department, well, he'll tell you what they covered. The mayor has kind of split the streets department in two as well, like L&I. There's the streets that handles kind of the technical engineering stuff, and then there's the sanitation side of it, and they'll be coming up next after streets.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kevin O'Connell. I'm in the traffic division of the streets department. I'm here with my colleague TJ. We're at the table in the back. In general, the streets department is responsible for maintaining all of the public roadways in the city and, all the amenities on them. There's about 2,500 miles of public street in the city that the city needs to take care of. And so different considerations that we think of, even just with maintenance, there's the literal pavement of the roadway, so the condition it's in. People all experienced potholes or cracks and dents in the pavement. So, there's spot repairs that can be done to those. And that pavement becomes aged, eventually the entire surface of the road needs to be replaced. That's called paving or resurfacing. When all the asphalt is replaced, then come back and do all the line painting on there. Just maintenance effort. There's also all of our traffic signs, all of the paint on the roads, all of our traffic signals, and all of our street lights that keep the city lit up at night. These are all things that just require constant maintenance for to keep everything just in decent condition. On top of that, there's also 350 bridges that the city owns and is responsible for inspecting and keeping in, a state of good repair. And on top of that, we have some other miscellaneous tasks, snow removal in the wintertime, we manage those operations. We employ and manage all of the crossing guards in the city. Specifically, what I like to talk about is when I work on day-to-day, I work on our traffic division, so our task is basically managing and planning and thinking about how traffic is moving on our public streets. Everybody has to deal with this, as part of the fabric of our day-to-day lives, whether you're a driver or pedestrian, or you like to bike or you're on transit, you need to be out on our streets to get around in some way. So we spend a lot of time thinking about, how we can make our streets safe and efficient and where improvements can be made. We live in a very old city. All of our roads were originally laid out far before anybody even thought about what a car might be. And now everything's kind of been retrofit for modern traffic, and that's had some growing pains there. So there's always room for improvements as, we as designers have learned more over the decades and nearly a century since we started, committing to using our public roads for motor traffic. So that can include, plenty of different considerations, things like even smaller issues, just like where our stop signs needed, where should parking be allowed, where signals needed, probably see a lot of speed cushions go again. That's a new consideration is, complaints about traffic safety are becoming more and more commonplace. So we started unrolling speed cushions over the last half a decade or so. Like right now, we'll see them popping up around schools, which is where we're mostly focused with that. We'll also have, some capacity to do them on like a neighborhood basis based on complaints from neighbors. In terms of like public services, what we offer to you, we're a department that's largely driven by like public complaints. Like if the street in front of your house is in good condition, you don't have any issues with traffic, everything looks good, you probably don't have a reason to need to interact with the streets department on a day-to-day basis. But when you do see issues in your neighborhood with the things I've talked about, that's when you can reach out to us. We'll see what we can do to try and fix things. Whether it's, issues like a pothole or broken sign, things that we can fix with the staff and the resources that we have, or if it's something like a bigger issue. Like you think there's traffic issues with congestion or safety, something that might require longer term planning, like a bigger project to figure out how to make improvements. That's also things where we're more than happy to take into consideration. So I guess that's about everything I had. I guess we can jump into a Q&A. I know we already had one question about Xboxes for driveways. I guess we could start there.
You kind of heard the question.
Yeah. So, I guess just to kind of follow up on what you said, we issue those permits. We give a permit for each property that applies that has a legal driveway. And it's kind of case by case how much space we'll tell them you're allowed to mark. For like smaller driveways on tighter streets, we'll give them more space on either edge just so that everyone can maneuver in and out. So that's kind of case by case. If you think there's a discrepancy, something's obviously painted with more space than they need. You can compare like what their markings are versus the permit or the markings that were allowed by the permit. And if they have taken more space than they were allowed to, you can give them a citation and ask them to adjust or remove those markings. So if you want to come back before you leave tonight. I'll give you my contact info. You can just give me the address of where the issues are. I'll forward those along for inspection. So any other open questions?
Yeah, I live on Marble Street. Bunch of people. And one of the things that we've had lately is back in the day, 18-wheelers were not allowed down our street. There were signs out at July Avenue, not to come down the street. But recently, there's been a lot more of very big box trucks and 18-wheelers coming down the street. And so, you know, it shows the house, it's dangerous. And it's also really tight to turn in Frankfurt Avenue. So it's fun to be done with that.
We can take a look at it depending on the layout of the street. Like, I mean, Marlboro is a small neighborhood street. It's not really appropriate to have like regular heavy traffic going through there. But we're, you know, kind of going back to how our streets are laid out. Like our grid is never really laid out with the street neighborhood and trucking routes. We're kind of all blended together in the city. So we can take a look at it as appropriate. It might be practical to restrict certain vehicles, like for example, if there's a turn that's obviously too tight for a tractor trailer to make, we'll put up a sign advising trucks over a certain length and has to go down the street. So I'm happy to take a look at it and let you know what might be appropriate for that. It's anything you can come back and get my contact info before you leave tonight and you can take a closer look.
I wanted to say also about Marlboro Street. Marlboro and Frankfurt is a depth trap.
Yeah.
It's dangerous for pedestrians, it's dangerous for drivers, it's dangerous for bikers, it's dangerous for all the delivery people that are pulling up to pick up their orders. And I understand that Frankfurt is a state road, so I do understand that. But we have a traffic light at Palmer, and we have one at Belgrade. And I see there accidents literally every day, whether someone almost gets hit, someone does get rear-ended, and God help us if a child gets hit. Because people, I understand people need to work and do their deliveries, but there's loading zones not being used. People block the view, it's got a big X on it. You can't turn left, you can't turn right. It's so dangerous, and it's the sole reason I can see your side.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'm not sure if we have anyone from Fishtown Neighborhood Association here. We did get a complaint about this recently from the president, so we are planning to do some short-term improvements there to put some additional striping and plastic posts around the intersection to prevent the illegal parking on the corners, which will help at least keep the crosswalk open and help the sight be better.
One note with that too, there are multiple times police from the 26th district park in the crosswalks.
It's coming from the house.
And again, the calls that are to the 26th are met with very defensiveness and not a, oh my gosh, like, yes, you were walking with a 4-year-old child across the street and a police officer is parked in the street in a crosswalk. We'll take care of that. It's not met with that. So that's the problem, but also the 26th culturally is part of the problem with that one.
Understood. Yeah, in the longer term, it is a state route. I don't know, in the past, there may have been studies to signalize or do any other treatments there. Penthouse currently, in the early stages of planning, a safety improvement project for Frankfurt. I don't know if this would be one of the intersections they'd want to consider for some additional treatment there. I'm happy to check in and report back and see what, when they're at this point in their considerations.
Regarding traffic, what steps are necessary to get a rapid rectangular flashing? Again, you're familiar with what those are.
Yeah.
RFBs, and existing pedestrian crossing where there are on Frankfurt Avenue at Haggard, where there are existing pedestrian crossing signs which are almost 100% ignored. Someone was hit a couple years ago and it died from the insurance there. And there's no stopping and slowing down these parts, but I read studies showing that these RFPs do have a significant impact on slowing the cars down. Is that something the streets department did or the PennDOT did?
It's a state route. We could definitely talk to PennDOT about it. I mean, putting in those flashing lights for an uncontrolled pedestrian crosswalk is something that, our main bottleneck there would be funding that. It's a treatment that I would agree is helpful and should be at nearly every uncontrolled crosswalk. So there's a handful that are in the city in terms of how we're gonna scope them and when we're gonna be able to do it. It's usually something that would be not done as an independent project, but, when there's additional work going on in the area, we might ask them to add that to the scopes, like I mentioned. PennDOT is working on a safety improvement project for Frankfurt, so it's like definitely something that we could suggest that they, include in that project.
I'll get your card.
Yeah.
That was my traffic question, I have an infrastructure question now, so I'm sure you're aware, and everybody's probably aware, developers, when they're building a new property or renovating something, they'll dig up a trench in the street. Ostensibly getting a permit from L&I to do so, I guess that's who they get it from. And then when they're done, they fill it in with inappropriate materials, they don't backfill it properly, they don't put in the right materials, and then the streets department paves it over, and guess what, it sinks. And in front of my house on York Street, that happened 5 times in a row as a result of improper backfilling, walking improper materials. And yeah, you can fill it in 10 times at taxpayer expense. How do we get it done properly in the first place? How do we compel developers to properly backfill the damage they've done to our streets so that taxpayers aren't on the hook paying the streets department over and over and over again to fill in the same hole that keeps sinking?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not involved in the paving section. I'm happy to connect you with our highways division that issues those permits and as the group is ultimately responsible for fixing that damage. So I wish I could give you more. I understand the frustration that happens in my neighborhood too.
Sure,
It's not something I can give you kind of an answer tonight, though.
I'll get your card.
Sure.
We'll come right back there. We have a question online. Andrew, as the intersection of Frankfurt and Thompson is dangerous to pedestrians and cars because of the setback stop sign, how can we petition to get some sort of crosswalk light or move the stop sign?
The Fishtown Business Improvement District has already agreed to design and pay for a safety improvement project there, so includes extending the sidewalks, shortening the crossing distances, and bringing the northbound and southbound stop signs on Frankfurt closer together, so the overall footprint of the intersection is gonna be smaller. And then the stop positions for each approach will be able to see each of the crosswalks and the other approaches better. So something should really go a long way in helping mitigate a lot of the confusion with that project. They're still working with the city to get approval on those design plans, but they're somewhat far along. I don't know what their timeline is in terms of when they're actually going to be able to hire a contractor to get that built, but I mean, it's an infrastructure project, so it's, these things usually around the timeline of months and years.
And then they followed up on the Palmer from Girard intersection, asking, is Girard dangerous because the trolley handrail creates a major blind spot? Can that be replaced with a less visually obstructing option?
I would have to look into it and see what we can get back to you with. I agree, and I've experienced that myself driving the Girard actually. There may be an option, I don't know, what we need in terms of that also being a waiting platform, so it needs to serve its purpose as a handrail for, people who are standing there, and then now also thinking about the traffic impact of it. If there's an option that has maybe a different layout for the poles, or it's maybe some translucent or something. We have to look into it. I understand what the issue is. I can't.
Could a possible, like Marlboro and Frankfurt and them other spots, Thompson, could a possible delayed light be helpful, so people coming off of Marlboro Street on the Frankfurt Avenue would have more time to make that blind, to make the turn, or by putting that, they had that delayed red light, so it has more time to turn off of Marlboro Street or Frankfurt Avenue, and they less time worried about the blind spot.
You mean that you're talking about changing the timings of the signal so
Yeah.
that street has a longer green
Well,
light?
you know how they have it, like York and Girard, where the mall is, the plaza. They had, when you're coming down York Street and turning on going through the left into the mall or making left or right turn, they had that delayed light right there at the old Exxon gas station. They had the delayed light where you had more time, to make a turn. Like they let them come out of the plaza, before you can make your left. And on the right side, you're not allowed to make a right turn. They had that delayed light too. Like something like that for them to have.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if there's something like, we have plenty of ongoing studies for Girard Avenue. I was looking at how to try and improve the progression of the signals there. I mean, it's aging signal equipment, so there's limitations with what can be done there. And also, Girard Avenue is a very heavily trafficked corridor, so there's not a lot of, extra time to divvy up without creating more congestion. So there's always a balance between, keeping traffic flowing smoothly and also being able to serve those turn movements. Have to look into it more. It's possible.
Just throw it out there.
It'll be fixed overnight, but yeah, as a future consideration, of course.
Thank you.
said. Your window, so
I wouldn't follow up with this gentleman.
window that you were.
About this and
Yeah.
making
I
sure
think
that
it's just a-
they
both
continue
are-
to do the damage.
Well, it's still on that revenue.
Right.
Between the big beautiful bill and the infrastructure. There's the science of monitoring infrastructure development has expanded exponentially. So there's a couple of things that a couple of states now require. So like if, for example, an infrastructure project costs $800 million. Infrastructure sponsors, that is the state of the government, require of to put 1%, somewhere between 0.75% and 1% to pay for a monitor. So if you have an $800 million project, you could get someone to pay over the period of development $4 million to monitor. Now you can get an engineer for about $150,000, $125,000 full-time state or city engineers to do. And I guess my response to your response is not enough to say build a thing. Appreciate if you get back to unity and say we've studied the science of infrastructure development over the past 5 years. It's looked at innovative ways to ensure that contractors, developers meet the obligations that the community has. So I guess the question I have, when you say we'll look into it, what do you mean by building?
I'm sorry, I can't give you a better answer than that tonight. It's not something I work on in my role with the streets department. So like I can relay this info, let them know that this is what they want to talk about. It's not something, I just don't have the knowledge base. I'm not really familiar with what the current process is.
What you got, Pat?
And so one thing my office will do is follow up with Kevin to get that information, and we can reach out. You sign in, we'll respond to the questions that have not been answered to get you the responses that you're looking for. We'll reach out within a week or two. I mean, that's something that we can do. Within about a week or two, we can give you that information.
That's better than Wednesday.
And so, but one thing that city council did do regarding the construction hose is we did pass legislation in this current laws in the city that will allow L&I and the streets department to suspend and even revoke and fine contractors who improperly fill in the holes. That's on our books right now. It's just a matter of enforcing those particular laws that's there. So we put that in, and we passed that law in 2024, I believe. When the first bill that we passed the city council during that session. And that's something that Councilmember Harity, who sponsored the legislation, has been pushing to get for L&I and the streets department to have more people out there enforcing this particular code, section of the code, because it is causing more damage to our communities all over the city. We have contractors who sometimes have no idea what they're doing when they're coming to refilling the holes. And that's why the streets department has to come on top, because they want to make sure it gets done right. But I believe that when they have their pavers going out there, they should have also inspectors going out there with the pavers to see if the infill was done correctly. So that's a recommendation that we'll be putting forward to the administration.
Thank you so much. It's great to hear about that legislation and what you said. That depends on the streets department or L&I having more inspectors. Whereas the process that the gentleman recommended, and then I would urge you as the councilman, not the streets department, they can't do anything. But you passing a law that has developers put money up. They put money up, they get their money back. If they're going to have problems, or they put the money up because we know they're gonna have problems, because they know we can't inspect, we know there's not enough inspectors in L&I or the streets department. So unless there's some financial requirement on them, associated with these gouges that they're putting in the streets, as you said, other communities have done, New York City does this very aggressively. So it's great that you guys are sensitized to the issue, but until there's a financial penalty that's upfront, I think we'll have more to say.
And real makes sense. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
No,
Real time.
but I agree. I agree. I mean, I'll introduce legislation to hold developers accountable to their neighbors. And I don't have a problem introducing more because your quality of life is what's important to me.
Okay.
One more question for streets.
Yes, I have a kind of question slash comment that's related to the infrastructure project on. It's been Belgrade for almost 2 years. It's now Columbia, and basically they're redoing all the plumbing on that. And one is the amount of time for a permit for that project for 2 years is entirely too long. Combined with Columbia, as you mentioned, there's 2,500 miles of streets in Philadelphia. So this contractor has a permit for June 23rd through October 23rd to redo the street from Frankfurt to Girard on Columbia. You guys can all do the math, and that's just does not work for infrastructure to last that long. So one is taking entirely too long. There's multiple days that they're just not even on site working while the roads are blocked. I have a small business that's on the corner, so I've been impacted by road closures on Belgrade for nearly a year, on now Columbia, it's been multiple times. And the contractor just dumps his product, like I have a loading zone, which we use. I need to bring my product in. It's very labor intensive. And the contractor just dumps his stuff in my loading zone, leaves it there. His contractors that work there park in the loading zone. I've discussed it with him, and he just continually does that. There's like a lack of respect for the community and neighborhood that we live in. And if any of those contractors lived on these streets, they wouldn't treat our neighborhood the way they did. So I would ask for anything we do, one, shorten the time frame for products, to like any help you can do to like get that contractor to actually have some respect for our neighborhood would be appreciated.
So I think when you see that in real time, please reach out to our office so we can have the appropriate enforcement agencies out there in real time while they're doing that.
Or are we enforced that they like don't work for 5 days in a row? I mean, their response is we have a permit to work, but like, why do they have a permit to work for 3 months if they're actually only physically working for 4 weeks?
And so there are periods of time where the permit can lapse if the department comes out there and inspects frequently to see that they're not out there. So that's something we ask that you reach out so we can have the inspectors come out there so they can do their job.
Thank you.
Yep. It sounds like the question is when these developers are applying for the street closure permits, how are they being asked to justify how long they need on their permit?
Pretty much.
And not let them say they need 2 years or whatever. They know they don't need that long.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I'm issue those permits, happy to ask the question over our permit team, see what they think. I wonder if they have a rigorous process for it. If they don't, maybe this is something they can look into.
Yeah.
More engaged with.
Thank you.
Yeah. So does anybody else have any other questions?
You have anything to do with the motor bikes that ride around?
E-scooters and motorcycles and
All that kind of
dirt
stuff.
bikes and everything.
Who takes care of that? Who polices that?
Mainly the police department. There's not really many.
They don't follow the rules. They don't go the right way on the street. They ride on the pavement, out of the streets, wherever they want.
There's nothing we can really put on the road to block them from doing that. It's not also going to block everyone else trying to use our roads. So, by nature, those vehicles are small and agile if they're able to get around. So there's not really anything physical that like we can do with our roads to deter them.
Yeah, so I can say that our office is reviewing legislation to regulate those e-bikes We've already introduced legislation that would create a registration system for the delivery drivers to at least hold them accountable to some of the damage that they cause while they're riding on the sidewalk. They're crashing into people all over town. So we are trying to regulate in that manner. We're looking into other legislation, like what other cities are doing as well. But technically, they're illegal. And the police have the ability to confiscate those if they don't. If they go over, I believe it's 25 miles an hour. The police have the ability to confiscate them if they're on the sidewalk.
But do that.
Yeah, that's something that we were talking to the commissioner about, because I've been seeing that more and more that's becoming a quality of life issue. Even Children's Hospital today just released, or yesterday released some kind of study showing that those accidents from e-bikes has the largest influx of new accidents for children in the city now too. So something has to be done because it's a real public safety issue.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. Anyone with, needs more attention on this issue, feel free to come see me at the table with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Again, those are some great questions. That's why we want to continue to have these series in communities to answer these questions. Next, we will bring up a consortium of folks that represent sanitation, sweep, PMD, Philadelphia More Beautiful Committee. If you don't mind coming up here, just giving us a spill on the services you provide and answer a few questions.
We brought everybody out.
Hello, my name is Tilly Joanne and I am a. Good night. I am, yes, a clean block officer for Philadelphia More Beautiful. I'm on the side where I'm trying to recruit black captains to get our blocks vacant. Order where so people, you can still not let people do it, they just come out of some 3 to 5 blocks, 4 blocks. That's like, I'm gonna let everybody else finish to stay up and I'll come back anytime.
Hello, my name is Akima. I'm an enforcement officer and really here to say about, probably I'm just here to answer your questions about trash.
I do. Hello, how are you doing today? My name is Gerard Murray. I work for sanitation. I'm a district supervisor in a special program called Cleaning Green. We service residential neighborhoods, so we provide like cleaning twice a year. We come to your neighborhood, you might see the mechanical brooms that come down your blocks. It'll be a team that has like the leaf blowers, weed whackers, all those things. We're trying to ramp that up some. That's been one of the bigger issues that's been coming up as far as the overgrown weeds. So these are things that we try to address on a regular basis. We also have a separate mechanical broom operation. So that usually runs through the spring and the summertime. So those are when we just have the mechanical brooms. They'll have the posted routes you'll see. They'll have the time frames of where you should be parking on certain blocks because they do the street cleaning, street homicides. We also have our bulk collection program. So basically those are like your white appliances, oxygen tanks, propane tanks, things of that nature. Those are things that we just don't want you to regularly put out with your regular trash. So you can request bulk collection on Philadelphia.gov. For your safety and ours, we just ask because those are dangerous issues. Years ago, we had a resident put a oxygen tank in a trash can. So the trash can got dumped into the trash truck and there was an explosion. So luckily no one was seriously injured, but these are things that can impact you guys as well as us. So we want all of our employees to make it home safe, just as we want you all to make it home safe from their daily jobs. Also, we had the alligators program, which is going on there. This is also something that you can request if you have a alleyway that has overgrowth or trash or litter that needs to have free space. This is also something that you can request on Philadelphia.gov. We're doing our clean block right now. I'm gonna be proud of when I talk about that. I'll leave that alone. We're in South Philly this weekend. Twice a week collection is also expanding to North Philly, South Philly. It has expanded already, parts of Port Richmond, Kensington. The objective is to be citywide with the twice a week collection, but right now it's just a progress. So we're making the steps as best we can. And also illegal dumping. I know that's your area too. So we have, each council district has a community action center. Also, you can reach out to the councilman's office if you see any illegal dumping that was done in your area, things like that that needs to be addressed. You can report those issues and we can make sure someone comes out to take care of that for us. All right. Yes, sir.
About like the stones and rocks, you know, like if you do a little work and you gotta dig up the pavement or whatever, and you had that, put them in the, you know, the canister or whatever, can you get that, pull up and get that taken away?
So technically we can pick it up. If it's something that's like a broken pavement up, that's like in front of your house or something like that, we can collect that. That's something probably the sanitation crews may or may not take, because of the weight of it. But there are ways for us to collect that. But we can speak more about that, about the regulation.
Yeah, because right now, the house next door, the water department has to dig it up, the pavement and the big pieces of concrete are still there. But I'm talking about my little, like, you know, I would throw like cement and all in that canister. I don't know what I could do with that. But
What's
that
that?
built it now. I'm 10 East Palmer
The,
Street.
the address.
10 East Palmer Street.
You said it's at 10
10, yeah.
East Palmer?
Yeah. And that's been dug up a while. So, I wanted to throw my fit with that, but I don't. You know what I mean? So that's why I want that.
No, I got you. I'll look into that for you.
Time.
What's the difference in responsibilities and who runs it between sweep and clip, and what do they do?
So, sweep is sanitation enforcement. They're represented here. So they, pretty much go out to your neighborhoods to educate the public about infractions, improperly set out trash, things of that nature. Clip is more so, they deal with a lot of vacant lots, yes. Vacant lots, overgrowth, things like that.
Graffiti. Graffiti.
Yes, they do also with graffiti. So those are just some examples of separation.
Who oversees clip? That's part of what department or?
I'm not sure exactly who the overseer of Clip is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so technically it's ran under the managing director's office. But right now, it's through the cleaning, it's through the clean and green office as well. But Carlton just got promoted to managing director. Whenever we need anything, we go straight to the managing director's office anyway. So I'll actually reach out to our office, and we'll get, Clip right on it. Tom Conway is the guy that runs that program. He does a phenomenal job, at, addressing the concerns, in a timely manner.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, want to congratulate you guys. So I think the birthday party, birthday party, the World Cup, never seen the city. Anyway, I know with all due respect, it's with the politicians, just be as a pictures. But on top of this day, it's you guys that make the city right. I just wanted to say, thank you. Pay more attention to these guys than the others.
Oh, trust me, I do. As a chair of the Streets and Services Committee, trust me, I pay a lot of attention and give a lot of gratitude to those men and women who work in sanitation. They have the hardest job in the city, I think. They're out there every day. When I was an intern for the city years ago, I actually had the opportunity to ride on a truck, and I realized that that's not for me.
It's not a fun job,
That was
but it's
And
a job.
everybody should give bottles of water to these guys on Tuesday.
Good idea.
There's a question online. They said there are no there's no public trash cans in most of the interior of the neighborhoods. can we get a trash can in front of a bodega or next to a park on Thompson and Columbia, for example?
So we had the ability to, have big bellies installed. What's the address again?
They're asking just in front of a bodega or next to the park on
Like,
Thompson.
trash can.
Yeah, like how do you get more public transit?
The bodegas are required to have, if there's food that they can walk, people can walk out with food, they're required to have a trash can, right? Now, it doesn't have to be outside, it can be right inside the door. So that's a what enforcement? Is that an L&I enforcement or who enforces that?
It will be a suite, it will be.
Sweet, okay. Okay,
And what's it, you said Thompson and what?
They're looking at the park on Thompson and Columbia. Is there?
Parking.
Oh, it's field.
So it's that.
Hands in the field, yeah.
They were using that as an example.
Gotcha.
So the field, that's really.
I think that's like being.
It's not the,
that's bodega.
I think Parks and Recreation bills are big.
I'll reach out to one of my partners like Parks and Recreation for them to look into, see if there's something that they can put on the exterior. I know that they've been installing some new trash cans on the exterior of parks and main strips. I saw somebody on Washington Avenue yesterday, so I'm pretty sure it's something that we can look into.
The person responded, Ann's doesn't have a trash can, nor does the one on Thompson and Montgomery.
So I was saying that's something for the sweep officer, we get the addresses and they can go out there to enforce.
Enforcement.
Yeah.
Montgomery.
So that's that, Thompson and Montgomery, and Ann's is that
Belgrade, Belgrade,
Belgrade.
Belgrade.
Belgrade, Palmer.
I'm sorry, you said Belgrade and what?
Palmer,
Belgrade and Palmer.
southeast corner.
Make them fast.
I'll send these over to one of the sweep supervisors as well, so we can get something looked into the project guys with them. You had a question, sir?
Yeah. The recycle has been not picked up on time almost every week of the year. There are schedules up on telephone poles, but that's the scheduled time. How do we get the actual time? Or could we maybe just make the same thing?
So that's a good question. The unfortunate thing right now, our department is fall behind quite regularly on recycling collection. On average, we've been about a day behind throughout the summer particularly. Just one thing, so as an example, with residents during the summertime, specifically, the volume of trash increases. So because the volume of trash increases, you got, people cleaning out their houses or they're doing lawn care, kids are home, they're eating more, throwing stuff out, people are moving out, they're doing different things. It creates a lot more volume of trash. So unfortunately, the priority becomes for us to make sure that we collect the trash, because if that's left, then that becomes more of a quality of life issue than recycling. So it's kind of we had to pick and choose right now, and we're a little behind with that, but we're doing our best to, increase staff, things of that nature to assist with these issues. It's just something that we can't fully control as far as the delay. I know your question specifically was, is there a way for us to update you about a delay? But we are not really sure until real time when the delays actually occur.
So follow up to that, the trash does get picked up twice a week. The recycle usually doesn't have a lid, and that's what blows around. So I understand kind of prioritization there, but what's blowing around on the street is going to be recycled because it's a day or a week, or it gets skipped. I mean, it's not always a day late, it's usually a weekly, or it doesn't come at all, which I guess is the same as it doesn't come at all. That's what's blowing around. The trash is sealed in bags, usually, or cans. The recycle is in open bins and they blow over. And then, so maybe just factor that in. I know you have to prioritize. So it's maybe not a good answer.
No, I understand. I appreciate your feedback. We do have the ability, we have lids for those recycle bins. I know that's not really a solution, and it would be something that you would have to probably pick up from one of our convenience centers. But we do have access, for our residents to have lids for your blue recycle bins, as we're talking about the shorter ones, right? You know, we have.
So it isn't, they're paying typically. So along the diet sheet, people.
Yes.
But less than landfill.
I'm not sure about that cost, the actual cost itself, but
But it's being recycled.
it's
Yeah.
being recycled.
It is.
The treatment plant that's up the northeast, I actually took a tour of the plant for waste management where they're actually building more space because of the contract they had with the city to recycle.
Are there any more questions for sanitation? I want to turn it over to PMBC.
Yeah, so I just want to, this gonna try to be good. I just want to try to be who so black kids. Is anyone wants to be a black kid? Anyone? Okay. Well, let's go over in the bag, and I can go over a couple of things. But it's a really good program. Really good. I'm not just saying it because I was here. It's a really good. If you describe the obligations of the black captain. So if you become a black captain, so what you want to do, you want to lead your block, right? You want to start having meetings on your block with the residents on your block. You want to get a secretary, you want to get a trainer, you want to keep that community tight. So anything that y'all can meet in, us as clean block officers, we will come out and speak to your block, tell you about our program. We will bring speak with us. We will bring some free recycling, bring some free gifts. And then it's so many resources that you have that connection with us. Like if you call me and say, hey, someone is squatting in this house, right? And I say, hey, let me give you a call back and I'll try to find out the most information I can to provide to you so we can try to work with this squad and this spot. You know what I mean? But I'm just using that for the example, but we have a lot of resources, a lot. And we would like for you and your residents on the block to use those, utilize like 311, abandoned cars. We have all of that in place, so we all work together. We would consider these systems of brothers, right? They consider us systems of brothers, but we all work under sanitation. We just a big umbrella, and we just have our own little departments. So you have any data that works? Any data that, which any resources that works? Do you have any data? Oh, yeah, we, right now. Quality of life. Yes, I think we up to maybe 6,000 black campers in the city. So, yeah, we're doing good.
So one thing I can say is that for every dollar invested in cleaning the blocks and open spaces, it saves the city, I believe, between $14 to $26, right? And so for me as a district council member, one of my asks during the budget process will be to increase the budget for PMBC. Right now, they have a budget of about $53,000 that they give out to blocks, and you spread that out among 6,000 blocks. It's really nothing. That's been that way for decades. So what we're doing now, what I'm going to ask for in this next budget request is to increase that amount to $500,000 to provide more incentives for people to become block captains, so they can get the materials you need to keep your community clean, and that money then will provide the city savings of millions of dollars. Yes.
So any more questions?
A couple years ago, I wanted to become a block captain and didn't realize we had one already on our block. And the person was inactive, really didn't do anything that we didn't even know we had. So I told you guys, I'm trying to find out, it's a private list, we can't disclose who it is. I did a lot of digging, found out who it was, and I'm like, nothing's being done, but I'd like to be, the block captain, and I didn't get anywhere with that.
Okay, so I have petitions on my desk in the back. Once you get that petition, you circulate that petition on your block, you have to get 51% of the people on the block to agree, they allow you to be the block captain. After that, 2 to 3 days later, they'll process it, send you out a block captain for a representative like myself or whoever is in your district, because we go by police districts.
who's ever in that district, they will come out, have a conversation with you, probably have a meeting with you, along with your residents and explain more of the program to you and the residents when you apply. So if you want to do that, I do have a petition in the bag. So we can do that once everything is over. Any more questions, guys? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't. That was some great information. Thank you. Thank you. That was very helpful. Next, we will be bringing up a representative from the Commerce Department that can talk about some of the programs, initiatives of commerce, and can answer some of your questions.
Hello, I'm Melissa Wells. I am the director of the Business Action Team. So we handle all business in the city. We have business services managers. We're moving up into 10 council districts. Even though I became the director, I want to stay in my district. So I handle all business under Councilman Jeffery Young. But we handle all business in the city, and we, so from start to finish, if you have a idea and you need help with license and inspection, or once we get you up and running with business and you have an issue with the license and inspection or the health department, we are like the happy face, I like to say, right, Lakeisha? We kind of bridge it together, and our job is really to help businesses grow, maintain, and just for you to stay in business. But we have a number of programs. Any business owners in the room? So I know that you spoke that you had an issue with construction, and it's bringing down, foot traffic in your business. So we have, I'm gonna start with that grant. We have a grant called the Merchants Fund. So before you leave, come in the back, and we'll give you the information. So anytime you have those issues where, like, I had an issue on Gerard Avenue where SEPTA abruptly did construction for a couple months, and those business lost a significant amount of revenue. I was able to get over 20 businesses, $95,000 amongst them, to help with some of the revenue. So the grant is up to $20,000. So you just have to, provide a profit and loss statement, and we will come out to you. I will come out to you, or one of my girls will come out to you, and we'll help you fill out the application and walk you through it. Then we have the storefront improvement. Storefront improvement is a program that just actually increased, where it helps with the front of your signage, paint, your security gates, lighting. And that is a reimbursement up to $20,000. All you need is 2 licensed contractors. We have in-store is a $100,000 grant. It's a forgivable loan. As long as you stay in business for 5 years, I don't care if you stay in business for 5 years in a day, it is forgiven. You only pay the loan back if you close before the 5 years. We have the Neighborhood Streaming Fund. The Neighborhood Streaming Fund is like the little sister to the in-store program. To me, it's fairly easier, and it is for businesses that serve a low to moderate income-based customers and low to moderate income neighborhoods, and that is up to $50,000. We have the camera program. Every business in the city can get 75% off of cameras. 2 on the front, 2 on the back, free monitoring system. That way it's easy and accessible if you want to add cameras to that with inside. We have, what am I missing, Reagan? Catalyst. Now, Catalyst is my favorite. And the Catalyst is for business throughout the city, because a lot of times this area, Center City, the Northeast, they didn't really apply, or they didn't really qualify for a lot of our programs. So you can be anywhere in the city and you can get this grant as long as you don't exceed $2.2 million, and you have to be in business for at least 2 years. And that is really about growth. So I tell people, when you apply for that business, like say if you wanted to do an outside patio, or I don't know what type of business you have, or you need to expand, you need to knock down a wall because you need to get, more customers in, or I just actually helped the daycare get it. She wanted to knock down a wall so she can expand and do a care program. That is a grant up to $50,000. and we have the Creole program. And the Creole program that really promotes ownership, because as long as it's mixed use, you can have apartments upstairs, but as long as it's something that deals with business, we will help y'all. I believe it's $400,000, and we will give you 10% of that, which is a $40,000 closing cost. PBLN just recently increased, so that is a loan and grant program. So say you needed $20,000, we can match you with a $50,000 grant. But most importantly, if you guys have issues with any of the business owners, I know a lot of times on Girard Avenue, they have issues with dumping and trash and the dumpsters, the residents, because it's mixed use. They're able to call us and we're able to come kind of bridge between the residents and the business owners and come up with a solution. Any questions? I got lucky.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you.
And if you got a little bit of time, I want to bring up a representative from the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations. Just come up for 2 minutes, just talk about, how we can deal with our neighbors, and issues that we have between and amongst neighbors, in communities. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shanice. I'm with the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations. I am the community relations representative for the 26th, the 22nd, and the 9th police districts. So what we do in our office is we help mediate neighbor disputes. So if you have an issue with your neighbor, that maybe putting trash out when it's not trash day, you don't want to confront them, call our office. We'll help mediate it. Most times we can do it over the phone, just back and forth, or we can have it sit down, like at a library, police station, or something like that. Our office also investigate complaints of discrimination, and we also have a unit that deals with landlord tenant issues. So you are a renter and your landlord is not providing proper services, like making sure that you have heat in the winter and running water, things like that. You can call our office and we'll help you navigate that issue as well. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you. So I really want people to hear that service because in communities throughout our city, there are disputes with neighbors. It happens all the time. And we just want people to know that there is a resource from the city that can help you mediate that. So even if it's not you going through something for neighbor, it may be neighbors on your block who are having a dispute. We want to be able to provide them with opportunity to work that out in a safe manner before police get involved. And so last but not least, we're going to bring up a representative from the Philadelphia Fire Department to talk to you all about the great things the fire department does for our citizens today.
Thank you, council member. Hello, everyone. Hello, neighbors. My name is Daniel McCarty. I also represent the Philadelphia Fire Department. And I'm here to really answer any questions that you all may have about anything fire department related. I was going to have a fire prevention team here, but why I have them here, but I can be here also in my neighborhood listening to all of it. But I really want to hear the nitty gritty. So fire department, obviously, if it's an engine, those are the smaller rectangular fire trucks. And I have to explain this because some people don't know there is a difference. And you sometimes have the longer apparatus, which is a ladder truck. So if the fire does break out, we have to put water on the fire, but we also have to make rescue. So you'll see that longer truck, they're trying to get to the roof, ventilate, etc. And then obviously ambulances. So if there's any questions, I can answer everything. We have 63 firehouses in the city, 73 facilities. And in this footprint, you have some of the best responding fire stations in the city. Hands down, just because of how the locations are set up, and we know the history of the fire department, especially in this local. So, ma'am.
Yes, I want to ask a question. Why do my block campus ask me about checking on a firehouse? Is it illegal to do that, or you're giving out the sprinklers? How do you do?
So, prior to my role, I used to be a lieutenant in the recruitment unit. And in our recruitment unit, we did a lot of community engagement, and that was a common theme. And I want to talk about the fire department does not control fire hydrants. That operation is done through the Philadelphia Water Department. But we work extremely close with the Philadelphia Water Department, right? Because we can't do our critical mission and extinguishing fires and, fire safety and life protection. So they monitor all that. back in the day, some people may remember we used to have plate streets, engaging things where the blocks were shut down, and we will always come out with requests and everything like that. But all that is coordinated through the water department, even to the sprinkler caps. If you remember, there used to be sprinkler caps you could set up and different things like that. Why? Why is it now changed? Because as you all can see, we all have great neighbors, but we also have neighbors that don't steward accordingly and understand the logistics of opening this hydrant and that hydrant and that hydrant. And God forbid, if there's a fire off of Richmond Avenue and we go to open that hydrant and the water pressure is terrible. So understanding the logistics. So the water department's involved, obviously the data. So we have what's called a water operations officer, and I can put you in contact with him in your role in the districts that you oversee with the block captain programs and just coordinate those pieces directly. Yes.
There's new high rises in Philadelphia along Columbus Boulevard, and they look pretty high up there. Does all your engines able to get up to higher floors if there was a fire up there?
Yes, so our engines typically are supplying the water and fires, but our ladders, so they can reach up to 100 feet. So 10 stories and usually at a rescue angle up to 70 to 75 feet. So anything more than 7 stories, obviously will have more of an aggressive response. But most of these high rises, like new construction that were definitely light construction, different things like that. The way the code and everything is set up is everything in the residential neighborhoods we have to get into. It is those commercial properties that we're monitoring that are 7 stories and higher, that obviously there's more extensive code, sprinkler systems and everything that is required for that. But we're always training in the locals, but especially we also see that transitioning from Chinatown where they're building higher but tighter because of the footprints and different things like that. We're very much involved in that.
And the problem was, you said the water pressure. There's lack of water pressure there. There's going to be a real serious problem.
In theory, but luckily you live in the city of Philadelphia for the best fire department, or the oldest fire department in the nation. We've been doing this a very long time. Every single one of those engine trucks that you saw carries 500 gallons of water on it. Every single shift that we fill that up. 500 gallons of water will give 5 minutes of just straight free flowing, 5 gallons per, as we're shooting, to put this fire out. So we can then hook up to other engine companies. So that's why when a fire, God forbid, a fire breaks out, and we're typically sending 4 engines, 2 ladders, 2 chiefs, an ambulance, and a special operations company. So just right there, you're getting almost 3,000 gallons of water before we even start trying to set up the hydrants, because we understand the city, not every single hydrant, some people stuff it with trash, different things like that, and we have protocols in place for that. But I will say, living in this neighborhood and knowing the response of our apparatus and certain opportunities that we have a really great neighborhood, just based on the data and our GIS and the trends and where we're seeing different avenues of rises. This is one that we're very well covered. Yes, sir.
What's the fire department's role in, with regard to responding to structural emergencies? Like like somebody's digging, underpinning, whatever, it's about to collapse. I asked because a 3 years ago, I saw a backhoe digging underneath a neighbor's foundation. I mean, digging into it. This is at near Frankfurt and Dauphin, actually behind there where Blair runs into Trenton Ave. And literally digging under his house. And I knocked on his door, I showed him, he's freaking out, called 911, got it on video. You guys responded immediately. The trucks were out there, you stopped that job instantly. And that job was shut down for like a year because it was really structurally unsound. That guy's house could have collapsed with him in it. But what's the role with the fire department responding to those kinds of structural emergencies, the Salvation Army thing, all these other over here, the key pizza thing,
Grace Ferry recently.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the fire department's role in that? There's no fire, but there's emergency.
100%. So yeah, we're an all hazard response. So it's not just the fire department. We do all hazards that response. Obviously, medical emergencies, fire safety, potential collapse. A lot of times we have accidents with residential properties, whether it's a car into a residence, and we have to check the stability, or the same thing that you're saying. people walking past seeing things and whether putting it into 311 directly, or if they feel like it's emergent, like you did, calling 911. We will respond. We'll respond lights and sirens. We'll get there. We'll assess. We'll go on radio and say, listen, it's not a fire. Recall the additional resources that are coming. But those first in companies have to do thorough investigation reports, whether it goes to our fire marshal's office or fire prevention and fire code that has a task force with L&I. So those calls automatically, that's data that we get, because until we respond, we're not knowing every single little nitty gritty. Like you said, we got there, we showed up, and our fire code made sure there was compliance. You said almost a year until they got going back up again.
So
That's where it starts.
So what kind of emergencies besides fires does the fire department respond to?
Medical emergencies, obviously, in the water, like, so river emergencies, we have the Schuylkill River, and then we also got marine units on the Delaware River as well. Obviously, there was a plane crash on Cotman Avenue, so matters like that. Accidents, major accidents, 95, highways. We respond with the extreme cold temperatures that you saw in the wintertime, sometimes when people are displaced because maybe power outages or infrastructure, obviously. And we also we started Operation Code Blue, where we assist where people that are homeless or may not have a warm place to stay during extremely cold temperatures. We provide resources through our mobile integrated health units, and they're also down in the Kensington footprint, providing resources to folks down there, as well as in West Philadelphia, supporting college campuses with nuisance calls that, we can all anticipate coming. So the fire department really responds to everything. I always tell people that we don't say no. You call 911, fire department will show up, and we'll find you a solution. No matter where it goes in all city government, the fire department will show up and we'll find you an answer.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jack.
And we always put the fire department on last because we always like to save them because honestly, they're one of the better departments here in the city. To be honest, that's just the truth, right? Everybody loves the fire department. They run into them. So we have to give them their just due. And with that, we're a little early on the time, but we open up for questions, Q&A. We'll start.
Okay, Jeff, I'm Frank Brzezowski. It has to do with SEPTA, the 25 route. They're eliminating the 89 Fishtown. Now, I'm opposed to the way they got the 25 route. It was, when it goes on Cedar Street, Memphis Street, it serves most people. Then it comes down to Frankfurt Avenue and goes to South Philly to Clemson, Pier 70 in that area. Now they want to stop it at Spring Garden Street, right? But the part that I am really opposed to is taking it off of Cedar Street and Memphis Street. They want to swing it over to Armingo Avenue. From Armingo Avenue, Lehigh to York Street, used to be Amazon and commercial buildings there. Then on York Street to Frankfurt Avenue, there's 43 factories, garages. And then on Frankfurt Avenue, it would go southbound or northbound, coming the other way. But the 25 bus, when it was on Memphis Street, which it still is up until the end of the month, and Cedar Street serviced most of the people in the area. And that was, to me, a very important SEPTA tool. So when next month, the area is going to get clipped twice. The 89 is not going to be there, and they're going to reduce to 25 and swing it to an area that was barren in some of the spots. So that's my complaint.
Thanks, and I do know there was a meeting held on the 27th, I believe, where SEPTA came out to the community to kind of explain their rationale for some of those changes. I've always been someone who's critical of SEPTA in these changes, particularly with the bus revolution that they had. I don't think it makes sense when you have communities like Fishtown and others where you have a large senior population who goes to Columbus to do their shopping and things like that, to have to get off a bus, to get back on another bus.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's worse when you go from one bus,
Yeah.
wait in the rain, and wait for another bus. That's nasty.
I agree. We've been critical of SEPTA. We're going to continue to voice these concerns to make sure that SEPTA can properly address that. I don't support it. I don't agree with these ideas at all. I know Mr. Scott has a lot more to say on this.
Well, I want to kind of follow up there. We are one of the most walkable neighborhoods in the city, and we are potentially losing our bus route through the neighborhood, our post office in the neighborhood, and our high school or middle school in the neighborhood. So at some point, how much is going to come out of the neighborhood before it's, I mean, we could still walk, but there won't be any place to go. And so, you know, this is kind of like every 6 months, we get another notice that, well, something else is going to close. And so we're getting a little upset here.
Yeah,
So,
we,
meeting last week, and the reaction from the neighborhood was overwhelmingly negative.
and our office had, we fielded those, complaints and issues and make sure that SEPTA, understands the opposition on that. We, you know, stood with community members, you know, with the closing of, Pin Tree. Like this, we can't take resources out of the community and expect the community to continue to grow and thrive. I think that, as you may have alluded to, I mean, that's kind of a death sentence for a community, like community that's continuing to grow, community like Fishtown, where people want to be here. They're taking away the amenities that make people want to be here. So we have to figure out how, to work with SEPTA, to ensure that they have real community engagement. Because what they say is, oh, we had 300 community participation events, whatever that means, right? Whether that's a survey, whatever. It's no real engagement when it comes to SEPTA, and getting the feedback of the people who live in those communities, who are the writers of those particular routes. They, you know, they have their own engineers and designers in downtown, who probably don't ride those routes, to understand what it's really like. And I want to continue to voice some concerns. That's bad.
So we didn't have the police department here tonight, and I raised the bake shop on Girard Ave.
Yes.
On 411 East Girard Ave. The reason that, one issue is the double parking, and you know, always blocks Girard Avenue, which I don't understand since it's a block from the police department, why they don't go crazy about it. But far too often there are there are high school age kids in there buying stuff, and nothing they're selling, those kids should be buying. And so it's a block from the police department, so I would love for you to raise with the 26th, the need to be doing some enforcement action at that vape shop for underage kids who are in there. In addition to just simply ticketing the cars so that it's just less of a neighborhood nuisance. That would be very, very helpful. And I also wanted to say that I know at council today, there were 2 hearings, one on early childhood and one on algebra access in our schools. And I'm sure you're super busy and you weren't able to be there, but as a constituent, I would ask that you watch the hearings. They couldn't broadcast them today. There was a problem, but I'm sure they were taped. And so 1, I'd love to get them up because I couldn't watch it either, but 2, it would be great to know that you watched them.
So thank you for that. Nah, that was through the education committee. I don't serve on the education committee, unfortunately. That's one committee I wanted to be on. But yes, it's a very popular committee. But we do have information. We had staff that was there as well that briefed me on the stands. And just so you know, I keep abreast of things that's happening. I'm a huge proponent of ensuring that people have access to algebra. That was one of the reasons why school district said they had to close all these schools because they wanted to expand access to algebra, but Big Tree had algebra. So it's like all these things that you're trying to do doesn't really make sense. So my office is on top of it and aware of that, and we're going to continue to put pressure on the school district to do better for us. Yes, sir.
So I remember when you first met, 5 years ago?
It has to be 3 now. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And so in the 3 years, certainly the neighborhood's changed. It's the, I think it's still the highest income code in Philadelphia. Speed rates, but there's still a disparity between the poorest, you know, the wealthy in this area. So I'm wondering from you, you ran with a vision, you ran with expectations. In the 3 years, what's changed for you? What do we see going forward?
What's changed in which way? Like,
You are an ambitious kid.
Yeah.
Years ago, what's changed?
I think my passion for improving lives has gotten, I wouldn't say worse, right? But like it's gotten heightened. Because I see that the pace of change isn't isn't keeping up with the community, right? With the needs of the community. And so we have to be more vigilant in making sure that you all understand the things that are happening in real time. So we as a community can make those decisions on how we want our communities to look. So I think that is what being in this seat has taught me thus far. And we want to make sure that communities are staying involved in the things and the changes that are happening. And change is not necessarily a bad thing, right? We want to see improvements. We want the community involved in every step of the way for those improvements.
There's no way that's trying, right?
Yeah, I want to talk about the assessments.
That's
City assessment- City assessments, just went through. Yeah, I'm now retired and my assessment just went up tremendously. And I know there's freezes and stuff like 5.4, but I'm over the limit. Like I worked all my life, 40 years. I make too much on Social Security now that I can't get a freeze of my property taxes. So what can you do to make me feel more comfortable? Is there anything you can do on your end, pass legislation for the people that are disabled, like myself? So we don't have to take, I almost have to take a quarter, you know what I mean? Pay for my bills and stuff. Everything going up, you know, it's crazy. What can you do to help make me feel better about going in the future? Not worrying about me having to sell my home down the road.
Yeah, so most of those programs that the city has are based on the state programs that allow us to provide those type of freezes and caps. So we would have to talk to our state partners to ensure that there is some legislation that will allow us to provide the relief for other communities. Now, what we can do, what I do encourage every single person who believes that their assessment is incorrect to file a first level of review with the Office of Property Assessment. Because with someone who in that office, they're just driving by your house, but they're not even driving by sometimes. They maybe just looking at a computer and looking at what properties have sold for in a 2-block radius, if that, right? And so I advise every single person to file for an appeal, at least for the first level of review. Then they get someone to actually come out to your property to see what is actually happening there, to get a more accurate assessment of what your property is. The city also has programs that allow you to pay your property taxes off on a monthly basis. And there are also programs like the Loop program, which is an income restricted program, but it's a much higher income restricted program. If your property assessment went up by over 100%, then you'll be eligible for Loop, and that is a cap that will go on your taxes.
Kind of related what this gentleman said. If you go to or ask, if you get a first level assessment,
Yeah.
And the city comes out and says, "Oh, that's worth more than we thought." Can they punish you for coming out? Because that's going to really discourage people.
Yes, unfortunately they can. If you follow the petition, they can come out and say, well, actually, we under assessed your property.
The hell?
So that's why we ask them
That's all you need.
to get, to get appraisals, right? And to really have, real estate professionals, guiding you on that process to see if in fact your property, is at a lower value than, what the city assessed it. But we encourage everyone, if you think that is incorrect, to please call that first level.
I have a big picture question. I've been in this neighborhood. Well, it was Northern Liberties for like many years, and then I moved up here. I've been up in this area, Fishtown, East Kensington, for 16 years. My property taxes have increased 6-fold. But strangely, my city services don't seem to have gone up.
Yeah.
Where is all this money going to?
So if you look and you see, our budget now for the city of Philadelphia is about $7 billion. And I can tell you that I have similar sentiments, and we are holding the administration accountable to the communities to ensure that our services get provided in an orderly and timely manner. One thing that you can see, is that we have the folks in sanitation here talking about our trash collection system and how that has been improving in the city of Philadelphia. We heard from the, commerce department talking about all the grants that are now available to the businesses in our communities. And so there have been some improvements. Sure. But I ask you that every time that you see that there is a lack of service, to reach out to us, because it's my job to hold the administration accountable to you. And when we reach out, I tell you they respond. When I send stuff directly to commissioners, and they respond, within a timely manner to get things done for us. So I encourage you to keep leaning on our office. If you ever were to call 311, we ask you to call our office, give us that 311 reference code, so then we can follow up with 311 because in our internal system, they get to it a little quicker again when the council office gets involved. So we're asking you, please, that's my job. Reach out and let me hold the administration accountable to you. You want to come here and say?
So for us senior citizens, who have lived here for a very, very long time, I've lived in my house for 49 years. I spent $7,000 for my house. My taxes every year are over $3,700. So in 2 years, I'm paying in taxes what I paid for my house, right? And we're being penalized because of all these new houses.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
The same thing as ours. Same price.
I'm lower income for the senior citizen discount. I get to take advantage of the homestead. Right, that's the other part. But that's all I can take advantage of. And I just don't think it's fair that that's what's happening to us. I mean, we're going to be forced out of our houses. What I'm paying for taxes is 1 month of social security.
Yeah.
And you people that move again, are getting tax abatement. Yeah.
Yes.
That's not
Yeah.
fair.
You increase the senior cap at least.
Yeah, you can.
We're eligible to
Senior citizens.
get a better discount.
And I agree with you. And so there's pending legislation in the state, by, I'll say, nonpartisan event, but by, Doug Mastriano, right? And he is proposing legislation that would, freeze the taxes for seniors throughout the state of Pennsylvania. That's something that my office has looked into to ensure that, to help get that through, in Harrisburg, but that's where the release have to come from. So we need to lean on our state officials, to help us get the relief for our seniors when it comes to those property taxes. But that is something that our office has been, pushing for, talking about, trying to steward through. Yes, ma'am.
So for Luke, I checked actually the other night at Philadelphia.gov, the website, and I don't even have any exemptions. It says no exemptions now with the loop. Now, how does that work? That now I'm not eligible for loop? Is it because of the assessment of the property values went up and there's a certain, I don't know how that works, so why now I'm not eligible?
How long have you been on it? There's a cap of the program. I believe it's like 10 years to be on it.
25 years I've been in the house.
Well, how long you been on Loop, the actual Loop
Oh,
program?
the actual, yes, since I started.
Yeah, I think you may have been past beyond the time frame. So that's something I'm going to look into, with city council to extend that legislation to allow, more time to be on that program. So
So what do I do now?
I would say the homestead would be, the best option right now. And everyone is eligible for homestead, no matter the income, no matter how long you live in the property, no matter what the taxes are. Everyone is eligible for that $100,000 off your assessed value. Got it?
They push through at every single meeting where somebody from the city comes out, they push through. Are you saying it expires after so much time? And then if you get it now and then it expires when you're 75, you're in even worse condition to pay for it down the road. Like, they're not saying that when they present it, they say, sign up, sign up, sign up. Right? And then down the road, you get hit with the, that needs maybe to be rethought a little bit because, yeah,
Absolutely.
people should wait a little bit. If you need that discount for seniors across the board.
I agree. I agree for the 100% with that. Because seniors, for the most part, will never earn another dollar again.
No.
Right? And so I agree 100% that there should be a cap on real estate taxes when it comes to our seniors. Again, that's why I've been pushing that legislation, the proposed legislation from Harrisburg to ensure that our seniors can live out, their life comfortable in their house, have to worry about the foreclosure and things like that being pushed out their communities. Because you're the reason why people want to move to this neighborhood, right? You put your sweat equity into this community to make it what it is today. Then you shouldn't be forced to move out. So that's things that we will look into that loop legislation to provide some relief.
One last question. I think the property tax abatement makes sense as an incentive to get developers to build new properties in neighborhoods that need them, where there isn't developers, or vacant lots or whatever. But why are property taxpayers, mostly residential property owners, being forced to subsidize wealthy developers who are building in like this neighborhood, which doesn't need incentives? They're going to make money anyway. Effectively, the feature of the tax abatement on a house is baked into the price of that new house when they sell it. So that money goes in the developer's pocket. It's really a direct wealth transfer from us residential property taxpayers into the pockets of developers who don't need it. They're going to make money anyway. Why is this happening?
Listen, I had this exact conversation earlier today, and I agree with you 100%. There will be a time where council may be debating a 20-year abatement for abandoned commercial properties or industrial properties that may come up. The state has allowed us to do that. And so that legislation hasn't been introduced yet, but it may come up. That argument that, it helps development, in certain cases, you're right, but I haven't seen a trickle down effect that the folks have said. I haven't seen that cost savings on communities. That money goes, like you said, to the pocket of developers. And because of that, the city did scale down the abatement. So it's no longer the 100% for 10 years. It's a scale that you get 100% year one, then, year two, you get 90 and et cetera, it scales down.
Given new residents, I need incentives to do business.
I think
And I was gonna track them years ago, but now, like, why?
It's run out of its time. In the beginning, it's a really smart thing to do.
There's no parking to be had anywhere as it is. They keep building more condos. It's back to the gills.
We haven't seen a single home price go down and become more affordable.
I agree. The demand for this neighborhood is still rising. It's going to continue to rise for the next foreseeable future. I don't see honest market.
United States.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, issues? Please, I'm here. That's why I'm right here. Just throw it at me. Well, if not, then thank you so much. I really appreciate you all being here. Please reach out to my office, reach out to us. My staff here, I want to thank my staff for being here as well. The hard work that's taken. And you all have a good night, get home safely.
Thanks. Bye.